Now, as our businesses grow and we start to use more and more tools, external or internal to our website, we tend to find that everything becomes just a little bit isolated. So for example, your CRM maybe doesn't talk to your email marketing. It doesn't necessarily talk to your website itself, or maybe it doesn't even talk to your accounts package or any of a myriad of other tools. Today, I want to show you a couple of different methods on how we can actually streamline this and set things up to make our lives considerably easier. Whether we're working just with a website and maybe one or two external things, or if you've got a company that uses tons of different services, functions, SaaS, online tools, all those kinds of things. So what am I talking about? Basically, I'm talking about website automation. And that's what we're going to take a look at in this video. So let's start by taking a pretty typical example of a basic setup. You've got your website, you've got your CRM or client relationship manager, you've got your accounts package, and you've got your email marketing software. Now, ideally, we want things to kind of start talking to each other. So let's say, for example, you create a new customer in your accounts package. Well, wouldn't it be nice if they actually, once you created that, it automatically added that customer and relevant information to your CRM, maybe even adding them to your email marketing. So we'd want our accounts package to talk to our CRM. We'd also want our accounts package to talk to our email marketing. And maybe we also want to have a new account set up on our website. Maybe we're using some kind of LMS, or we've got a membership package, or any other myriad of other things. So we wanted to also talk to our website. So that's not necessarily the easiest thing to do without using some kind of automation. But let's say you want to go even further than this. You don't want to have something as simple as that. You want your CRM to also be able to do the same thing in a different direction. So you add someone to your CRM and it automatically creates a new customer inside your accounts. It adds a new user to your website, and it also adds them to the email marketing. And when they add it to the email marketing, you also want to have a dedicated email sequence specific to that new customer, user, whatever you want to call them. And this is where you can see things can get a little bit complicated, especially if you have to do all of these things manually. So by using automation, you can do a lot of this behind the scenes and have some really comprehensive things set up to streamline your overall business. So let's take a quick look at how these kinds of tools work, and then we'll move on and take a look at some of the different kinds of tools that you may want to take a look at for yourself. Now, for our first example, we're going to be sticking inside WordPress itself. We're going to say this is the kind of central part for our overall business. And this is where we're going to use a piece of software called Flowmatic. Now, this is a WordPress plugin, but there are other options available if you don't use WordPress or you want to have everything external, and we'll cover that a little later in this video. So once you've installed Flowmatic, you'll have access to all of the options available here to you. And this is something that is growing quite regularly. For example, I asked the developer only 2 days ago if they'd include access to the Bricks Builder's forms. So when someone submits a form or something using Bricks Builder, we can use that as a trigger for multiple actions. Within a day, that was added in. This is the kind of thing that I really do like to see. So as this grows, and we have more applications, more tools, more software, more plugins and things that we want to tap into, we've got an open developer that'll actually listen to what we're looking for and start implementing these where possible. Okay, so once we've got Flowmatic in this example installed, you can see we've got a set of different options here. Now, whenever you're working with any kind of automation, it works in exactly the same way, whatever tool you're using. You've got triggers and you've got actions. A trigger will trigger a single or multiple actions. Let me demonstrate what I'm talking about. First of all, we have to have some kind of integrations. In other words, what tools or services or features can we actually use? So if we come into the integration section inside Flowmatic, you can see things are broken down into core and external. Core are functions inside WordPress itself. And this is one of the benefits if your website is built around WordPress. One of the reasons why you may not want to take a look at something like Flowmatic, because it gives you access to a lot of integrated WordPress native and WordPress based functions that you may not have by using something external. Okay, so we've also got external. So these are basically services, plugins, things that we may be using. For example, advanced custom fields, Airtable, Beaver Builder, Bricks forms, like I said earlier on, all the way through to various different tools, external tools, and so on. So I've already installed a couple inside here. So we go to the install, you can see I've got my Bricks forms, MailerLite, and Stripe. Now, not everything can be used as a trigger. Some things are only triggers, some things are only actions, some things have both. So let's take a really simple example, which we can expand upon later. Let's say when someone signs up on my website, they're automatically added into MailerLite, my email marketing platform, or one of my email marketing platforms. So how do we do that? Well, we create what's called a workflow. And a workflow is where we set up our triggers and our actions. So let's add a new workflow. We'll give this a name. So then we can choose the trigger. Now, there can only ever be one trigger, but there can be multiple actions associated with that trigger. And obviously, you can create multiple different triggers for different scenarios using exactly the same options. So you may have multiple things you want to happen when someone actually signs up, but you may not want it all inside this one kind of trigger action setup. Well, you can do that if you want to. But we're going to keep this really simple. We'll choose our application. For this example, we'll choose WordPress, but you can see we've got specific Flowmatic apps, things like webhooks and so on. Let's keep it really simple for this example. Choose WordPress, choose an event. What do we want the trigger to be? In this case, we can choose new user, but you can see we've got a lot of different instances. So you may have something that when someone posts a new post, you then want that information to be sent over to your email marketing, and then an email marketing sequence actually go and tell people there's a new post. You kind of get the idea. For this though, we'll say a new user, and then we've got to capture the response. Only one time you need to do this with any of your kind of triggers and actions. But what this basically does is says, okay, this is what you want to happen. Inside WordPress, when someone signs up, you want something to happen. But I need to know what information I'm going to get when we go through that trigger. So we'll click Capture Response. This is then going to start listening for a response to this trigger. Now, before moving on, here's a quick message from today's video sponsor, Hostinger. Kickstart your WordPress journey with hosting as a new post. You then want that information to be sent over to your email marketing, and then an email marketing sequence actually go and tell people there's a new post. You kind of get the idea. For this though, we'll say a new user, and then we've got to capture the response. Only one time you need to do this with any of your kind of triggers and actions. But what this basically does is says, okay, this is what you want to happen. Inside WordPress, when someone signs up, you want something to happen. But I need to know what information I'm going to get when we go through that trigger. So we'll click Capture Response. This is then going to start listening for a response to this trigger. So all I need to do now is register for a new account. So I've set an incognito window up, and I'm going to do exactly that. Now when I hit register account, that trigger is going to be listening for a new account to be set up. I can delete this afterwards. It doesn't really matter. This is just literally being used to test things out. And now if we switch back to our trigger, you can see this has captured that response and has grabbed the information that it needs from that, in this example, registration form. So the username, the email address, the time and date they registered, and any other information that it needs to sort of pull in here. So we've captured the response now from our trigger. Now we can go and choose our action or multiple actions. So let's open this up. Again, you can see we've got the option now to choose an application, but this is now for our action. We'll choose that from there. You can see we now have more options, which is part of the Flowmatic, but we've also then got options underneath for any of the ones we've got installed. So we'll say MailerLite in this example. And you can see now it says, right, what action do you want? So we can choose our action. So you can see we can create a new group, create or update a subscriber, which in this case, that's what we would want to do. So this is basically saying that we'll create a new one if they don't already exist, and it'll check to see if they exist. Then we can choose what connection. Now, I'm not going to go through the whole process of connecting this up to my MailerLite account because it's a live account. I don't want to sort of show access to all the different things there. But literally all you need to do is choose the connection or create a new connection in the same way that we just saw capturing the response and so on from WordPress itself. And then you can go through and you can say, what's the email address? You can click on the little dynamic option, and that allows you to search or pull in the data that we've created and collected from that capturing response. So you can see users' email, their nice name, their user login, and so on. So we can say we want to use their nice name. What status do you want? We'll say active, subscribed, or unconfirmed. You know, you can set this up as you want. You can reference any of the groups you've created inside, in this example, MailerLite, and so on and so forth. You basically just map everything out by using these little database icons, and you can then go and just grab any of the data you want, or you can search for any of the captive data that we grabbed from signing someone up. Don't have to fill everything in, just the things you think are relevant. And then once you've done that, you can add any sort of additional conditional execution logic if you want to. So we can say only execute this when something happens, and you can stack these up to get quite comprehensive. Then we can say save and test action, and that's going to do the same thing. Again, it's going to test things out. We may need to sort of have a live transaction kind of thing to check everything works. And then if we want to, we can click to add another action and another action and another action. You kind of get the idea. Then all we need to do is save that workflow once everything has been tested, checked, and confirmed, hit the draft option to make this live, and then that will start doing exactly what we've asked it to do whenever anybody subscribes or signs up to our website. And that's a really simple example, but you can do so much more. Now, we're not limited to only using this kind of sort of setup where we've got triggers and actions, we've got sequences and those kinds of things. Let's say now we've gone through the process, someone signed up, they put into our mailing list, we can have automations inside there as well. Now, one of the tools that I use is called InCharge. And InCharge is basically an email marketing platform. And inside there, we've got what are called flows, which are effectively just automations. We can have something happen when something is triggered. So for example, someone is added to a specific group, that will trigger this flow, and this flow will then go through a list of different logical steps with yes and no answers, which will branch things off into other. Let me just demonstrate what I'm talking about. It's easier. So for this example, when someone signs up for the free sample on my Essential Web Designer document sort of website, they'll get added into a segment, in other words, a group. So they'll be tagged with that specific tag. Then, once they've done that, they'll be waiting for one day before something happens. And that something that's going to happen is they will get an email sent out to them. And that email will be personalized and have information and educational content, whatever it is. Then it's checking things like on delivered and on open. So in other words, this has been delivered and they've opened it. You're going to wait for another day, and then we're going to do something. We're going to check their tag. In other words, if they've started this sequence and then they've gone and bought the product, I need to take them out of this sequence because the rest of it is not relevant to them because it's helping them make an informed decision to buy something. So what we're saying is if their tag has been changed because they purchased it to a customer, take them out of the flow. Just remove them from it and then do whatever else needs to be done. They may go into a different flow, which is a thank you and all those kinds of things. You kind of get the idea. And then this will carry on through several different weeks or days until it's finished everything or until someone's purchased and they get removed from that flow. So if we zoom out, you can get an idea for just how comprehensive this set of automations are. And while this is slightly different to what we're doing inside something like Flowmatic, you can see how using these automation-based tools, whether they're flows, automations using triggers and actions, we can create a really comprehensive set of actions that we don't need to do anything with. We just need the end user to start that trigger and start all these actions in process. In this case, they sign up to our website, they get added to a list in our email marketing, and then they go through a flow because they've been added to a specific group. You kind of get the idea. Now we've kind of seen the kinds of things you can do. What types of tools are there available? So we've seen Flowmatic as one of the options, and I like Flowmatic. This is a really solid product that is really doing some pretty cool things. If you work with Facebook ads, for example, you can use this to do various different things with your Facebook ads, and there's so many different things. And if you take a look at their integrations, this will give you some idea of all the different things you can integrate with. And this is a growing list. Like I say, as more things are being asked for, more people are sort of having extra facilities added into this, and it's expanding what you can do. For example, if you're a main WP user, like I am, you can set up automations when people do things inside main WP, a site update, for example, whatever. So there's lots of cool things you can do here, even OpenAI if you're using things like ChatGPT. Another WordPress-based option is called Uncanny Automator. Now, this has a free version, which is quite limited in what you can do, but it does give you the ability to install it, test it, and get a feel for how things work. And if you like the way automations work, and then you can take a look at, going for a paid version of this, or use something like Flowmatic, whatever you want to do. Then we have the daddy of them all, which is probably one of the oldest ones out there, which is called Zapier. Now, with Zapier, they call things zaps. In other words, as you do these triggers and you do these actions, they just term it as zap. But it's the same thing. It's a flow, it's an automation process, whatever you want to call it. This has probably one of the easiest ways of setting everything up, but this is slightly different now to what we have with the WordPress version. This is a hosted or managed platform. In other words, you are paying them every single month for a set number of actions, and those actions are carried out via the Zapier servers. So this will scale, and you should have no real problem if you have a very busy period of people doing things and you've got lots of actions and triggers and things going off left, right, and center. As long as you've got enough tasks, as they call it, then you're fine. And these are kinds of things you can see you can have from 0, which will give you free platform where you can test things out, but they're quite limited on how many steps you can have in your kind of your Zapier zaps. I think it's like 2 steps, something like that. Then if you want to move up, you can see it goes up to like $20 per month if you pay annually. And this gives you access to a set number of, sort of zaps, as it were. So you can see as we sort of go up, say, for example, 2,000, you can see you can't use that. You kind of have to move it to the professional. So things can get quite expensive quite quickly. Another alternative is Make. This does pretty much exactly the same thing. Again, you can come into your pricing and you can see this gives you your annual. So this is 10,000 operations, like your zaps, for example, per month. $9 a month if you pay annually. If you pay monthly, it's not much more expensive. So if you have a need for this, you want to test it out, but you don't want to commit to a year, you could do the same thing here. But as you see, this gives you 10,000 sort of operations per month. An option that I bought into probably about 18 months ago is called Pabbly Connect. Again, works in exactly the same way. It's an online service. The difference with this is, A, it has a lifetime plan. So if you want to jump on the lifetime plan, you can do. And part of that lifetime plan gives you the set number of actions. As you can see, you can have 10 workflows with 3,000 tasks every month, or 6,000 or 10,000, depending upon what you pay for. But then on the flip side, there's certain things inside you which of the other services they would charge you for that are free. So you may find that while this might look lower, being 3,000 or 6,000 tasks, you may find that a big chunk of the tasks that you would carry out are free. So again, it's worth taking a look at this and see how it all works. And because it's on their own service, it's fully scalable. Now, if we go back and take a look at something like Flowmatic, you can see this works slightly differently. This is now your pay or you charge per website. So one website, $5.25 or $100, depending upon what you want. There's a lifetime deal available right now, but you may not see that. It might not be available at the time of actually you viewing this video. So I'm not going to worry about that. Check out the Flowmatic website. Link will be in the description anyway. But the benefit of this is that you can have as many tasks as you want. You don't have a restriction because it's on your server. The only thing you need to be aware of is if you have very busy periods and you have lots and lots of these actions and triggers and things going off, and it's on your own server, you may need to scale your server resources to be able to cater for them. So there's swings and roundabouts here, depending on which you want. If you want peace of mind, not having to worry about that, maybe something like Zapier or Make is a good option. If you prefer to have unlimited, but then you may have to scale your server, then maybe take a look at something like working with Flowmatic or Uncanny Automator. Now, another option is a kind of slightly hybrid approach, which is SureTriggers. And this is from the same team behind Astra and SureCart and so on. This works in fundamentally the same way, but this is kind of a little bit sort of WordPress centric. But what it is you've got your online kind of way of working. So you'd log into your own account and everything is run from the SureTriggers servers. And again, you can see you get your tasks per month. So the free plan has 1,000 tasks per month. So great if you want to try this out. You may find there's other limitations in there. But then when you want to jump up, you can see you can go up to 5,000 tasks per month, 10,000 tasks per month, right the way up and beyond that. And there's also a lifetime offer, which unfortunately, in my opinion, it's just a little bit expensive, but whatever you kind of want to do. But one of the reasons I say this is kind of like a hybrid kind of thing is that you can still access your account inside your WordPress website. So you don't have to log in. This is great if you've got an account set up and you want to give clients access maybe. You don't want to give them access to your actual online account. Then maybe you want to give them access via the WordPress website that they've got. But this is the kind of introduction to automations. And hopefully what it'll do is it'll sort of like get your mind going over time on what kind of things you can do, that you can use these to trigger things, and then you can use other tools and services to be able to trigger even more actions outside what you can do here. Like I've just demonstrated when someone signed up to my email marketing and then they go through this entire flow, which is separate to my website and everything else, but it still works in fundamentally the same kind of way and automates so many things behind the scenes. Now imagine you scale this up to 20 different application services and your website and so on, and how much time this could save you and how your business could become much more effective by having all these things going on behind the scenes, being triggered by various different actions that people actually carry out. It's pretty mind-blowing what you can do. And I think once AI comes into this and you have even more options there for handling various different aspects, it's a kind of exciting time. But as always, I put the question over to you. Do you use automation in your business? Is this opening your eyes to what you can and can't do? And would this make you want to go and check things out? If you have, or if you do, what are the tools that I've covered today are the most interesting to you? Let me know in the comment section down below. As always, my name's Paul C. This is WPTuts, and until next time, take care.